Sailing just received 2 major updates within 24 hours that completely changed how the skill works. The first update nerfed almost everything. The community exploded. Therefore, Jagex released a second update literally hours ago, partially revising their changes. Let's break down exactly what happened. Everything starts with the Crystal Extractor. The device costs over 2 million GP to build. You build this at level 73 and it gave 600 XP every 60 seconds. About 34k XP per hour for 1 click per minute. But this created a massive problem. Every single training method had a minimum 34k XP floor, regardless of intensity. Therefore, Jagex cut it from 600 XP to 250 XP per harvest, down to 14k XP per hour. That's a 58% reduction. On the 3rd of December, salvaging got hit from multiple angles all at once. There were speed changes, player salvaging slowed down from 4 ticks to 5 ticks. That's 20% slower. Crewmate salvaging also moved down to 5 ticks. They were bugged at 3 ticks before this. In terms of the XP changes, there's been small increases to pulling up salvage. Merchant shipwrecks went from 190 to 200 XP. Pretty much a 20 to 30% nerf to AFK salvaging overall. The popular method where you assign 2 crewmates and come back every 30 minutes to sort dropped from 65k per hour to 37k XP per hour. But they did add good quality of life changes. Crewmates remember their position after logout. Better hitboxes, more double salvage spots, and Jolly Jim got level 4 deck handiness so you can use 2 dragon hooks properly. There was heavy feedback from the community about all of this, mainly because Jagex nerfed the extractor, salvaging speed, sorting XP and crewmate speed all at once. Therefore, the cumulative effect destroyed what people were enjoying, and within 24 hours Jagex partially reverted the changes. The things that got completely reversed. Sorting XP got fully restored. Merchant salvage is back to 95 XP, player salvaging speed back to 4 ticks, and the higher success rates from the nerf update. The nerf they wanted was crewmate XP modifier significantly reduced, with level 4 deck handiness to 70% down to 40% and level 3 deck handiness from 60 down to 30. What this ended up with was even more AFK time, but around 70% of its original power. Tick manipulation salvaging got the 20% buff they intended. When it comes to the Barracuda trials, the Gwyneth Glide Marlin, which is the hardest trial, got a 1250 XP bonus. I guess this was to compensate for the extractor nerf. Therefore, this method returned to pre-nerf rates and remains the best XP in the game. The other trials, Temper Tantrum and Shell Cove, they got hit with the full extractor nerf with no compensation. Port tasks got a 15% XP buff from level 40 onwards. But since they previously benefited from the extractor's 34k per hour, high level players with the extractor built actually see these as slightly worse than before. Mid-level players without the extractor got a genuine buff. Jagex stated they have no plans for further port task changes, which is a bit disappointing since this remains basic sail from A to B missions with minimal engagement. I found port tasks kinda fun, and I think they have a lot of potential, so I'm hoping they do something with this in the future. But Jagex secretly added smart pathing to all the sailing creatures. You can't safe spot anything anymore. NPCs navigate around obstacles and follow you properly. But Jagex admits that combat doesn't feel good and needs a complete review. Jagex did reveal official drop rates, confirming items are extremely rare. Bell's Folly is 1 in 400, Dragon Cannon Barrel is 1 in 20,000 from Opulent Salvage, Great White Sharks 1 in 1023 to roll the Dragon Table. But here's interesting news, various drop rates were bugged to be more common than intended since the last update. Jagex decided to just leave it that way and update the official rates to match, which is a stealth buff to several items. Jagex's goal was clear, create proper spacing between training methods. They wanted Barracuda trials at the top, port tasks as the baseline, and salvaging as AFK or high intensity with tick manipulation. But the extractor was propping everything up equally, therefore preventing this hierarchy. I think the problem is they changed too many things at once. They realized this within hours, reverted most of the changes, and focused on the single lever they actually wanted to pull. Crewmate XP modifiers. This achieved their goal by reducing extreme AFK methods while barely affecting active players. If you salvage actively yourself, you're at 95% of original rates, possibly better with the success rates increased. The method feels smooth with crewmates remembering positions and better hitboxes. If you use the extreme AFK method, you're at 70% of original power, still viable but noticeably weaker. if you do Barracuda trials, Marlin Gwyneth Glide is back to full power. The original trials are slightly weaker but still the best training method. If you do port tasks, this was essentially unchanged at high levels, and slightly better at mid levels. I think one major criticism that emerged from this situation, Jagex gave no warning. Players logged in to find their preferred training method gutted without any prior discussion. Therefore, the reaction felt more personal, like something was taken away rather than adjusted. The community has been vocal about what sailing needs since its launch. Players want clickbox fixes, they want to be able to move their furniture without spending 2 million GP to rebuild the extractor in a better position. They want combat to feel engaging. They want rare drops to be less absurdly rare when you're already at a 1 in 20,000 rate. But instead of addressing these requests, the first major update nerfed what people were actually enjoying. The timing just made it worse. Releasing massive balance changes right before the holiday break meant players faced weeks of uncertainty about whether fixes would be coming soon. If Jagex had posted a week earlier saying something like "we're concerned about salvaging rates and plan to adjust them," the community could have at least provided feedback. Players could have suggested targeting XP modifiers specifically without nuking multiple variables at once. Therefore, the changes might have looked similar, but the community reaction would have been far less hostile. This matters because sailing has a long road ahead. Combat needs a complete overhaul. Port tasks need more variety than sail from A to B. These future changes will be much smoother if Jagex previews their thinking and lets the community weigh in before pulling the trigger. This controversy also raises questions about old school RuneScape and what it should be. The game has traditionally rewarded active, intensive play with better XP rates. Nightmare Zone and Redwood trees offer AFK options, but at significantly reduced rates compared to active training. Salvaging launched with a 30-minute AFK window, giving competitive XP rates. This was unprecedented. Therefore, when Jagex nerfed it, they were enforcing traditional OSRS design philosophy, but players had already adapted their playstyle around this new paradigm. The question becomes, should new skills follow old rules, or can they establish new standards? Jagex has clearly answered that question. Traditional intensity to reward ratios still apply, but the passionate response shows a significant portion of player base would have preferred the other answer. Jagex made mistakes by pulling too many levers all at once, but they also demonstrate time and time again that they listen. Within 24 hours they acknowledged the problem and provided substantial fixes. The skill is now more balanced with clearer method hierarchy. Sailing is just a few weeks old. These growing pains were perhaps inevitable, therefore the real test is within the next few months. Will Jagex follow through on improving combat, fleshing out port tasks, and addressing quality of life issues? I guess only time will tell. Tap the video on screen to learn some of the best tips that you should know about sailing. I hope you're having a good day. Until the next one, peace.